What's up, guys? Here I am in the recording studio, and by recording studio, I mean behind my desk, looking at my gaming desktop, and not in a recording studio at all. But anyways, I've been looking at cards from Legacy of the Valiant, which is the next set coming out for those of you not in the know. And I wanted to talk to you guys about some cards I found particularly interesting. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into archetypes because there are archetypes with multiple cards that I really like in them. So let's just give a quick shout out to them. There's new Chronomalies. They're really cool. There's new Gorgonic. And there's a Gorgonic archetype now. That's really interesting. There's new Ghost Tricks. This is actually my favorite new Ghost Trick that I chose. Ghost Trick Skeleton. Let's just go over him really quick. You flip him and you banish cards from the top of your opponent's deck face down equal to the number of Ghost Tricks you control. So it's kind of a mill, but it's a face down mill. So they're not really going to ever get those back. So in my opinion, Ghost Trick Skeleton, really, really good card. Bujin, new Bujins. Bujin Hair is really good. I mean, all the new Bujins are actually decent. It's just going to be a matter of which ones you want to play. There's a Shinra. We're going to get them as Sylvan. I have some videos of me playing them, and that was like not really the best build ever, but it'll give you an idea of what that's all about. Heraldry. There are new Heraldry cards. Like I said, not going to get into it, but they're really cool, really good. There's new Gravekeeper stuff, and there's new Necro Valley cards that of course go with them, and this one's like an Infernity Barrier basically. So let's just move on to the stuff from the set. Not all of these cards I'm going to point out are overpowered or crazy ridiculous cards. They're just cards that I thought were cool. So Rainbow Karibo, you can only use each effect of Rainbow Karibo once per turn. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can target the attacking monster and equip this card from your hand to the attacking monster, and it cannot attack. And when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can special summon this card from the graveyard, and if you do, banish it when it leaves the field. So that's really cool. Blocking attacks twice. It's another Karibo. Much better than the GX era Karibos that we got. Mysterious Seed Mitra. One of two plants that I took out of the set to talk about that are not Shinra cards. He can't be used as a synchro material monster unless you're synchro summoning an earth monster. So that's a downside. But on the other hand, you can target an earth monster on the field and reduce its level by 1. And you can only use the effect of Mitra up to twice per turn. So up to twice per turn, you can take any earth monster and just reduce its level by up to 2. So that's really cool. Quick access to the Naturia Synchros. I'm sure that's exactly kind of what this is all about. It's a really interesting idea. I like it. And then the other plant I want to talk about is Cherubime, Princess of Maples. I'm sure that I butchered that name pretty bad, and that might not even be the name in the TCG, so we'll see. Your opponent can't target other plant monsters for attacks, so you may also notice that this card has a 2800 defense. So that's pretty generous. If they can't target other plant types for attacks, they got to run over that 28 butt to get to your other things. And if this card is in your possession and sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card, either by battle or by card effect, you can special summon a plant type monster from your deck except for another copy of this. So this dies, you can go get the Water Princess or your Lone Fire Blossom or whatever you need. That's a plant. So that's really cool. Because it protects your plants and it replaces itself also. So it more than pays you back your investment of getting it onto the field. And that is really cool. Mobius, the Mega Monarch. You contribute summoning by attributing 1 tribute summoned monster. Otherwise, of course, he is a 2 tribute monster. And when he's summoned, you target up to 3 spell and trap cards on the field and destroy them. But what's most interesting about him is if you tribute summon him by tributing a water monster, you add this additional effect. Your opponent cannot activate the targeted cards in response to this activation. And the way I'm reading it, the tributed monsters do not have to be tribute summoned water monsters for that to count. So for example, frogs could just tribute Ronin Toad and a Treeborn Frog for him, and they'd have basically a heavy storm that you can't, like almost a Harpy's Feather Duster that you can't respond to. So that's really cool. Definitely think that Monarchs deserve a little extra this or that. I like it. XYZ Avenger. He is unaffected by the effects of XYZ monsters, and when he's destroyed by battle with an XYZ monster and sent to the graveyard, you apply effect depending on the monster's rank. If it is a rank 3 or lower, your opponent sends one card from their extra deck to the graveyard. If it is a rank 4, you look at your opponent's extra deck and send one card from their extra deck to the graveyard. And my favorite one is if it's a rank 5 or higher, your opponent sends a number of cards from their extra deck to the graveyard equal to the rank of that XYZ monster. So you run it over with a rank 7, 7 cards from their extra deck just gone. What I really think this would be abusable in is if you played an XYZ deck that already main decked creature swaps, then you could, for example, side deck this for other very extra deck reliant decks and just give it to your opponent, run it over with something high rank like 8, 7, even just a 5 or a 6, and take out a very big chunk of their extra deck. And that could be devastating. What if, for example, you ran this over with a rank 10 after creature swapping it to your opponent? Then that would be devastating. That'd be obviously amazing. And then XYZ Shift. You tribute an XYZ monster and special summon from your extra deck one XYZ monster with the same type, attribute, and rank as the tributed monster, but with a different name, and then attach this card to it as an XYZ material. So I definitely see this as being an OTK tool because the monster you summon is sent to the graveyard during the end phase of that turn. So that's something really cool. But I'm definitely thinking you could, I don't have like a specific example, you could maybe, I don't know, swap, just whatever, summon something maybe with an effect that requires it to not attack after the effect's used, use its effect, and then XYZ shift it into something that can attack, enable your OTK. Just something very basic like that. On a pair, probably should have gone down with the archetype cards, but not quite. You send one card from your hand to the graveyard, and then you add up to 2 of the following from your deck to your hand, but only up to 1 of each. And you can only activate 1 on a pair per turn. You could add a Zubaba monster, a Gaga monster, a Go-Go-Go monster, or a Do-Do-Do monster. 2 of those in any combination that you choose. You can add a Zubaba and a Go-Go-Go, a Gaga and a Do-Do-Do, whatever. And this definitely will give Gagagas some desperately needed support. XYZ Override. Besides having a really cool picture of Dracossack hanging out in a hanger on it, if a face-up XYZ monster's XYZ materials would be detached to activate a card or effect, its controller can banish 1 card from their hand face down instead of detaching one of those XYZ materials. Both players can only use this effect once per turn. So the way I read it, the monster has to have an XYZ material for you to be able to substitute cards from your hand. So you can't just like use it to use Utopia to negate an attack while it doesn't have materials by banishing from your hand. The way I read it. But you might come over to this TCG and the way that it reads, you can do that. But either way, just being able to use XYZ monsters effects extra times, while maybe not the most important thing right now, could become very crucial in the future. And for that reason, I think this card is worth noting. Standoff. Target 1 face-up attack position effect monster your opponent controls and 1 face-up attack position effect monster you control, and negate both monsters' effects. While both of those monsters remain in face-up attack position, they cannot attack, they cannot be destroyed by battle, they cannot change their battle positions, and they are unaffected by other card effects. So for example, you could... basically what you're generally going to do with this is you're going to summon something really big and you're going to target something your opponent has that they probably can't Synchro or XYZ with, and then as long as those are both on the field, you're not going to have to worry about being attacked directly or getting Dark Hold, well at least not that monster specifically, and that's definitely very interesting. Not sure how, if at all abusable it is, but it's very cool if nothing else. riding together. I'm pretty sure that several YouTubers have already made like videos about this card by itself, but I'm not sure if I want to give it its own video. So here it is. Each time your opponent adds a card from their deck or graveyard to their hand this turn, except by drawing, immediately draw one card. You can only activate one riding the other per turn. So this would have been really nice to have during over the summer when the baby dragons were loose, when the big dragons were all at 3, but I don't mind having it now. It's definitely worth having in your side deck if you'd rather play it than something like Mistake and Thunder King. And it is also just a cool card. And finally, for our main deck cards, we got Skill Prisoner. You target one card you control this turn, negate any monster effects that target that card. And then during either player's turn, except during the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and target one card you control this turn, negate any monster effects that target that card. And what I think is best about this is it says card, not monster. So, for example, your opponent summons whatever. This is just an example of Snipe Hunter. Or let's make it Scrap Dragon. That's more relevant. They summon Scrap Dragon. They target your field spell. And you can Skill Prisoner and target your field spell and say, nah, my field spell is not affected by anything this turn. And you can also do it next turn. And, of course, you can do it to whatever else. And it only blocks monster effects, so that spell could still be spaced or whatever, but it's really cool. And then for extra deck cards, we've got number 101. You can detach 2 materials from him, target an attack position, special summon monster your opponent controls, and attach it to him. And you can only use him once per turn, and if he would be destroyed, you can detach material instead. So he's kind of like our new universal problem solver in the rank 4 toolbox. Your opponent summons anything that's pretty annoying. He's kind of a Thousand-Eyes Restrict, if you will, where you just kind of like, give me that. I'll put it in my stack, you know. Number Chaos 101. Dark Knight goes with this, of course. Once per turn, you can target a special summon monster your opponent controls and just attach it as an XYZ material for free. And when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, while it has an XYZ material, you can special summon it from the graveyard, then gain life points equal to its original attack. It can't attack this turn, and you must have the regular number 101 in the graveyard to activate and resolve that effect of summoning him back. But you can just summon him the correct way with 3 level 5s as well. So that could potentially be kind of a similar thing to this for the rank 5 toolbox if you maybe play Hieratics or Inzectors or whatever that spams rank 5s nowadays. You kiddies know what's up. You can summon him, put things on him. Number 39 Utopia Roots. There are too many number 39s, guys, and this is no exception. But when a monster declares an attack, you can detach a material and negate it. And if you do, if that monster is an XYZ monster, this card gains attack equal to the rank of that monster times 500. So definitely a very good defensive against a deck that really only has XYZ options. And a really cool rank 1. Number Chaos 69, Heraldry Crest. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the original number 69. Takes 4 level 5s, or of course you can rank up Magic It from the regular 69 or something. Because it only works if it has number 69 as a material, so you wouldn't want to use 4 level 5s to make it the correct way because you can't even use it. Once per turn, detach material from this card, target an XYZ monster your opponent controls. This card gains attack equal to that monster's original attack, and its name becomes the name of that monster. So you notice number C69 has 4,000 attack, so it is a big monster. And then on top of that, it can steal the effects of opposing XYZs. Number original 69 negates all of their XYZs on the field, so you can't, for example, steal a Big Eye with it by copying its effect and then use the Big Eye to take something else. But with this thing, since it does not negate everything first, you can copy a Big Eye, take it, and then use its effect, or copy whatever, a Draco Sack, and then actually use the effect and pop a thing, or just copy things, use their effects. It's good. Shinra, another Shinra. This one's in here because he's generic. He's 2 level 8 monsters. Once per turn, you can declare a card name and reveal the top card of your deck. And if it is the declared card, you add that card to your hand. Otherwise, you send it to the graveyard. And when a card is sent from the deck to the grave, you can detach a material from him and target one card on the field and put it on top or bottom of the deck. So basically the way this works is if you know what's on top of the deck, you can call it correctly and get it to your hand for free. And if you want to get rid of a card, you can call something that you know that's wrong. Just be like, Exodia is a forbidden one. And or just something absurd like, oh, is my top deck Oja Magic? It's not. Guess I'm going to target one of your cards and put it on top or bottom of your deck. So this guy is definitely a problem solver. He solves the safe zone Master Key Beetle lock by just putting the safe zone on top of the deck or on bottom of the deck, probably. He solves lots of problems. Ghostrick Dullahan, another really cool rank 1. He gains 200 attack for each Ghostrick card you control, including himself. And once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach a material from this card, target one monster on the field, and that monster is halved until the end phase. And if he's sent to the graveyard, you get to pick up a Ghostrick card in the graveyard, accept himself, and add it to your hand, just like the other Ghostrick XYZ Alucard. Fairy Knight Ingunar, he's 3 level 6 monsters, so he's a little bit difficult to summon. Like Hieratics, once again, they keep being my example, but they just happen to be a really good XYZ deck. They might be able to make him. Once per turn, you can detach 2 materials from this card, which is interesting because he takes 3 materials. So effectively, you can only use him once unless you're going to be gaining materials somehow. And you return all other cards on the field to the hand except for himself, and your opponent can't respond to it. So whatever, you maybe... It doesn't matter what you do to summon it. If you get this guy on the field and your opponent doesn't respond to him, you can Giant Trunade the front and back row, and your opponent can't respond to it. So that's really cool. Definitely going to enable lots of crazy OTKs, and definitely going to make some people really salty when he puts up 4 pieces of Destiny board, or really obscure things like that. Probably never ever going to do that last example, but one can dream. Noble Swarm Beelzebub, or also being called Evil Swarm Exion Knight Beelzebub in the OCG. He's 2 level 4s. During your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, if your opponent's cards in hand on the field outnumber yours, you can detach a material from this card and destroy all other cards on the field. If you activate this effect, your opponent takes no damage for the rest of the turn. So basically, if your opponent has card advantage, you can just undo that with this card. And he's kind of a rank 4 Judgment Dragon, if you will. Definitely going to want one myself. I think a lot of people are going to want one. This guy's going to end up being like an expensive ass secret or something, but it is what it is. We got Downward Magician, a very well designed card in my opinion. It takes 2 level 4 spellcaster type monsters to summon it the correct way. During your main phase 2, you can also XYZ summon this card by using a rank 3 or lower XYZ monster you control as the XYZ material. And of course, as you know, with Chaos Overlaying, the XYZ materials come with it. It says that in parentheses for those of you who don't know. And this card gains 200 attack for each material it has, and it does piercing. So that is really cool. And if it battles after damage calculation, it loses a material. But if you just make a rank 3 with 2 pieces and drop this on it, it's going to be 2700 attack. If the rank 3 doesn't have any materials at all, it's still going to be 2300 attack, which is not bad. You can only summon it during main phase 2 using its effect, so you don't get to just summon it and pierce for game. And it's just a well-designed card. And finally, the one synchro worth mentioning in the set. You got Leo, Guard Beast of the Great Tree. He's 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuners, 1 and 1. He can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects except during your main phase 2. It's noteworthy to say this says he can't be targeted. And it doesn't say not affected. The original translation said he couldn't be affected by card effects except during your main phase 2, but it actually finally said you cannot be targeted by card effects except during your main phase 2. So like he can still be mirror forced, you can black rose him, but you can't compulse him except for during your he can't be compulsed except during your own main phase 2. You don't have to worry about targeting effects on him basically. And that's really, really neat. So that wraps up my interesting cards to watch out for in LVAL. And rate, comment, and subscribe. All that fun and exciting YouTube stuff. And I'll see you guys around. Peace.